Salam and good evening to you. Jordan here. The PH is silent. Let's talk about the deities of Zakara. One would think the gods of Faerun would make their presence known in the land of fate, but you would be wrong. Well, except for a few. Zakarans actually have their own deities and gods. Foreign gods to this pantheon are known as the Ajami, or coming from the outside. This can be confusing because Ajami is also the word for outsider wizards in Zakara. At its core, it means a foreign, divine, or arcane power. The Ajami gods are many, too many, say Zakarans, and are seen as a burden upon the person that brings them into Zakaran culture. Gond, for example, was brought to Zakara from Lantan traders, seen as a poor god that makes devices. Non-worshippers almost pity him and his small portfolio of making things. Perhaps there was nothing else left at the table of the gods for him to represent. Yet in Lantan, Gond is highly worshipped and respected. Perhaps Zakaran culture just doesn't fit the Faerun deities. Most of the Faerun gods that have come through Zakara have left not so much as a ripple. The faithful of these deities felt it right to convert Zakarans to the right way of thinking. Some even managed to create religious communities, but it was rare that anything was lasting, especially after they returned back to Faerun. Arcane power is different for wizards in Zakara. Your Faerun wizard might have mastered the fireball spell in Faerun, but attempting to learn the Zakaran equivalent would prove most difficult. Even though the effect would essentially be the same, the spell is different. This is because the Zakaran fireball and most Zakaran magic is based on elemental magic, which, although not unique to the Land of Fate, isn't super common in the rest of Toril. If you were to travel to Zakara, you could potentially learn some of these unique spells that exist for that campaign setting. Many of them deal with commanding the elements. This is known as sand, sea, wind, and flame magic. There were new divine and arcane spells found in Al-Qadim's Arabian Adventures. Spells like Sand Sword, where you create a jambia of nearby sand, or Waterbane, which would keep you from getting wet. Wind Compass puts a whisper of wind in your ear to point you in the right direction. It's possible to update these spells for 5e if you wish, which could be fun if your players have the PHB memorized to incorporate some new magic into your campaign. The gods of Zakara are divided up into three groups: major or great gods, local or common gods, and savage or heathen gods. Everything ties back to enlightenment and the lore giver. Savage deities are not recognized in the teachings of the lore giver, but have an influence on Zakara all the same. Savage gods include the forgotten deities of the Nog and Kadar empires, see my previous video for more information on them, and the unfeeling elemental gods. I've mentioned these gods in earlier videos. Found in Faerun, they are Akkadi, the air god, Grumbar, the earth god, Istishia, water, and Kasuth, the fire lord. They are known as the unfeeling gods because they do not care for their worshippers and generally are uncaring towards mortals. Most Zakarans would say their chaotic nature is counter to Enlightenment culture, a good deity for your Zakaran villain to worship. The major gods have organized churches and are the most recognized throughout the Land of Fate. There are 8 of them, known as the 8 Great Gods, and they don't have precise portfolio like Faerun deities, but instead exemplify a characteristic or trait important to Enlightenment. Hajama, god of bravery; Gakia, goddess of honesty and truth; Haku, god of freedom; Jasan, goddess of fertility and productivity; Kor, god of wisdom; Najim, god of courage; Salan, goddess of beauty; and finally Zan, god of knowledge, learning, and intellect. The great gods are neither evil nor good, lawful nor chaotic, which is very different from the hard alignment most Faerun gods have. A lawful paladin could be brave, but so could a black-hearted assassin. Hajama would not necessarily turn his ear from either of them. Now, a certain church may worship one of the 8 great gods with an evil focus, but that's the church, not the deity. In retrospect, some of these deities might also be connected with Faerun deities, just worshipped under a different name. Salan, the goddess of beauty, is linked to the moon and shares a similar name with Selune, but the connection remains a mystery if there is one at all. Local gods are recognized in the Land of Fate, in the world of the lore giver, but they are not worshipped universally across Zakara. Localized, hence local gods, to a specific region or sometimes city. The deity might be worshipped in one area, but is unrecognized just a mere 20 miles away. Local gods include Jauhar, goddess of wealth; Bala, goddess of music; Jarmik, god of sharing and generosity; and Vadakatal, god of war and duty. There is an unusual faith in Zakara known as the Temple of 10,000 Gods. The idea behind this religion is that each local deity, and even the Great Eight, were only facets of one supreme divine being, that the divine spark exists in every creature, so its credo is tolerance and acceptance. The symbol of the Temple of 10,000 Gods is a nautilus shell, and although there are temples dedicated to it, it wasn't so much one temple, but an idea that flourished in the minds of Zakharans. It honors every deity that has ever existed or will exist in the future. There are those that believe this is more of a philosophy than a true religion, but the priests or clerics of the Temple of 10,000 Gods do gain spells from their god just like a normal cleric and their deity. Mentioned in earlier videos, fate plays a large role with Zakharan religion. Fate is not worshipped directly and fate does not grant spells, but it is a natural force that is part of everyone's future. Fate is not a goddess, but she does aid those who succeed, and she may comfort those who fail. Finally, the savage gods, excluding the uncaring elemental lords, are considered wild and often worshipped by unenlightened tribes in Zakhara, or the people that have not heard the law of the lore-giver. They don't recognize the law or the existence of other gods in most cases. Usually they are not organized churches and their clerics are considered outland priests. A few examples are Kiga the Predator, who is worshipped by were-leopards, Lotha, the Zakharan name for Lolth, worshipped by evil elves, Megal, the god of teaching, but also assassins, the Faceless god, who is the evil god of the Yakmen in the World Pillar Mountains, and Thasmudyan, the god of undead. That's my look at the deities of Zakhara. I like them a lot because it's a different style of thought when it comes to the gods of the Forgotten Realms. I have a live podcast every Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific on Twitch and YouTube called the Saturday Morning D&D Show, and I'd love for you to come check it out. We're currently trying to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so come take a look. Also, if you want to support the channel, consider becoming a patron on Patreon, which houses my Patreon podcast where I interview my friends about D&D. Links down below. Thanks for watching and sharing this video with your gaming group. I'll see you next week with more lore.